Human beings are separate from other creatures in the world in that we want to control our fertility. Sometimes we want to enhance it, sometimes diminish it, and we're the only creature that does that.
Condoms are seen as something that provide value to people. They help them prevent infections, they help them prevent pregnancy, they help them to plan their families.
The history of the condom is very complicated. There have been so many issues that have shaped how we feel about this one particular object. Some of the earliest examples of condom use occurred in ancient Egypt, where people used linen sheaths to cover their penis and protect it from all kinds of sexually transmitted diseases, as well as to prevent pregnancy.
The scourge of syphilis at the time when Columbus came back from the New World created a horrendous health problem for most of Europe.
Syphilis needed some kind of preventative action, and condoms came to the rescue.
There's documentation at least as early as the 17th century about the widespread use of animal skins. We use those same animal skins to make sausage casings.
Casanova is really one of the most well-known examples. There's even beautiful prints of him blowing up a condom in a brothel. People who really used condoms the most were the middle and upper class.
It might have cost a working person a week's wage to buy a quality condom at the time. The big innovation came in 1839 when Charles Goodyear found that he could vulcanize or heat treat rubber.
Condoms in the 1850s were thick as bicycle tires and they smelled of sulfur. They weren't exactly inviting.
The condom trade really started to proliferate about the time of the Civil War. That was the first time you could get them more easily. You could get them by the mail.
Birth control was a necessity of our growing country. You could tell that campaigns such as the Comstock Act were right around the corner.
Comstock was able to get passed a piece of federal legislation in 1873 which effectively criminalized contraception.
Condoms were forced underground. You couldn't get them in the same way that you had before. After Comstock, because people weren't able to use condoms, the rate of STDs skyrocketed.
At the beginning of World War I, condoms were not widely distributed to U.S. soldiers.
But if they did have a night out, they were admonished to come back to the infirmary and be cleaned up with a so-called pro kit or prophylactic kit.
It was basically a glorified tissue and soap and was completely ineffective in preventing VD.
Our military leadership heavily communicated the message that abstinence was the preferred decision. The problem was soldiers, troops didn't always agree.
18,000 American soldiers were unable to serve a day because of VD infection.
And that becomes a major issue in wartime preparedness when 15% of your troops are on medical furlough because they've got the clap.
The rise of automation of machines really started to take effect across a lot of manufacturing industries.
You could turn out 144 condoms in one day.
Latex changed the face of the condom industry. It changed these heavy, thick rubber condoms that were once available to now these almost thin as human hair condoms that obviously made sex a much, much more pleasurable experience.
So in 1937, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, decided to label condoms as a drug, which meant that all condom manufacturers had to meet certain minimum requirements.
When they first started to do that, they found as many as 75% of them were not safe. The industry itself imposed new quality control measures and testing, and that was something that was in effect by 1938, and that really is, I think, ushers in the modern era of safe, reliable condoms.
No longer could you get them in a bar, could you get them in a back alley. You had to go to your pharmacist and ask for a condom.
Now in these drawers I keep miscellaneous tablets and pills alphabetically. And in this top drawer I keep the prophylactics.
Condoms were advertised openly, but it was frequently done in a way to veil or conceal possible purposes.
Certainly I feature certain products because I know they're outstanding.
By World War II, condoms were really the main source of preventing VD.
It made no sense to leave our soldiers vulnerable to sexually transmitted diseases like syphilis and gonorrhea.
The posters and the films that U.S. Army men were shown really displayed warnings about women.
These women are clearly seen in kind of a vampish way.
Condoms were widely promoted to U.S. soldiers, and this really helped to legitimize the condom because it helped protect individuals from infection.
It was also a matter of national patriotism to use that condom to stay in good fighting shape.
After World War II, thousands of troops are coming home, and they're coming home with an experience of having accepted condoms. By the mid-1950s, we are thinking of Ozzie and Harriet and these idyllic American lives. And it was idyllic partly because probably close to 50% of American couples were using condoms.
They became more commonly a part of couples' sexual lives. They were used widely for preventing pregnancy. The sexual revolution of the 1960s and 70s meant that a lot of people were having sex with people they didn't necessarily know very well.
It changed the need for sexual protection.
This meant that the condom took center stage in American culture, particularly for younger people.
In the early 80s, we, as a nation, found out that we had a new public health problem, HIV/AIDS.
We saw a dramatic increase in the number of condoms that were being sold.
Condoms became what could be the difference between life and death.
AIDS isn't just a gay disease, it's everybody's disease, and everybody who gets it dies. The Surgeon General says proper use of condoms can reduce your risk, so you'd be crazy not to use them.
With the surging demand for condom in the late 80s, there was a real rise in the amount of TV and radio advertising around these products.
The threat of sexually transmitted diseases is a piercing reality, but there is a simple and dependable way to protect yourself.
Greetings, smooching citizens.
What are you doing here?
My horse loves the view, and I'm here with America's most trusted condoms.
The public health response to HIV and AIDS has meant that condoms are more widely available than ever before.
We see rapid innovation in the condom industry in things like materials, in things like shapes, in things like texturing, packaging, and lubrication systems.
Condoms were once a one-size-fit-all kind of object, but now they come in various shapes, sizes, colors.
When somebody goes to the condom aisle of the drugstore, they're faced with a number of choices to sort of tweak sex in any way that they want to tweak it.
My hope is that one day we will be a truly sexually healthy nation, and I absolutely believe that condoms are a central piece of our being able to get there.